As the hour of 7:15 has arrived, it is time to call the Mequon Municipal Water Utility Commission meeting for February 14th to order. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Strelchek,
I am here.
Commissioner Bushy, Commissioner Meyer,
Here.
Commissioner Hancher,
Here.
Commissioner Garrell,
Here.
Commissioner Parrish,
Here.
Commissioner Schneider,
Here.
Commissioner Gebhardt,
Here.
and Commissioner Nurbin.
Here. First up is approval of the minutes from December 13th, 2022.
approval. Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments, questions, or corrections on the minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next up, we have discussion and possible action. Several items. The first of them is the Water Utility Commission consideration of the Village of River Hills request for municipal water service. Who will be taking this one? Is it Jim?
I'll start.
Kristen?
This issue has been before this commission for over a year now. The Village of River Hills made a request for the Mequon Water Utility to serve a portion of the village with municipal water, and so that final decision is before you tonight for consideration.
Thanks. We've all had some input into the process along the way. So I think we've talked about it at least 3 distinct times, possibly 4 by now. Does anyone have any remaining questions? I think we've addressed everyone's questions individually along the way, but this is the last chance to ask more questions. Or would someone like to recommend approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, that brings us to our next item. Get back to the agenda here quickly. Next up is a resolution authorizing execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of River Hills for that municipal water service we just talked about conceptually.
The intergovernmental agreement memorializes the terms and conditions for service to River Hills. Project-based terms and conditions are put into water services agreements. So this intergovernmental agreement is what memorializes the terms and conditions this body previously outlined to address the concerns related to the fiscal responsibility to ensure that this portion of the system is self-funding and the logistics for the duplicate connection both at County Line and under I-43.
So the framework by which everything will be done going forward.
Correct.
Are there any further comments or questions from the commission? We've had a couple times to provide input to this document along the way. This is just the end, and both parties have reviewed it, and lawyers have made small tweaks to language that correct spelling errors and things like that. But it's largely the same thing we've seen before.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. I see a raised hand from Commissioner Parrish.
Thank you. Just want to thank staff again for all your work to get us to this point. And the only reason I'm talking is because to the public, it probably looks like we're rushing this through right now. But we did have several meetings about it where it was confirmed that Mequon does have sufficient capacity for our future growth, that it's not going to affect the rates for our existing customers. And we're not servicing all of River Hills. This is a kind of a specific area that was a good way to help our neighbors, and it's in no way a commitment to service all of them. And this commission is very aware of growth and capacity, and that's why we're working on a strategic plan over the upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you for that addition. Any other comments or questions on the IGA? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the intergovernmental agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes and moves on to the council later tonight. Thank you for that. Next up is approval of a water services agreement with the Village of River Hills for the River Hills Tax Increment District Infrastructure Project.
I'll simply note that this is the first of 2 water services agreements before this body for consideration in River Hills. This first is the infrastructure that will connect to provide the basic or the baseline backbone service to the village. And then there's a subsequent water services agreement that will serve the residential development that's otherwise proposed. Both generally follow our template agreement through the building contribute model and otherwise memorialize the technical specifications for construction.
Thank you. So one item building on top of the other, building on top of the other, in sequential order. Any questions on the water services agreement aspect?
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further comments, questions? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that item is approved as well. Next up, we have approval of a water services agreement and water utility easement with the Grove at River Hills for the Grove at River Hills. Part 2 of the water services agreements.
Yes, this is just the residential development that then follows the TID project.
So very similar to the last one, but separate item, so it needs its own motion for approval.
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second. Okay, any comments or questions on this item? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? That item passes as well. And lastly, we have approval of a water services agreement with Bayside Development Partners 2 LLC for One North project in the village of Bayside. It looks like Mr. Voigt from City Water will be taking this one.
This is a water services agreement for development. I think you all remember this was the site where a developer proposed to put a 30-story high-rise, but that ended up not happening. So they came up with a new plan. The new plan is mixed retail and residential. The first phase of this development is a library with some residential above it. That's the first building they intend on putting together, and this is the water services agreement to serve that particular building. There is existing water infrastructure. We already serve this area. It has been redeveloped. The developer bought a series of properties and raised them, and so they need to move infrastructure in order to put the footprint of the library in, and this is the water main extension to go around the library building.
Thank you. Sounds like Bayside saw how well we did mixed use in Mequon and decided to replicate it. Any further comments or questions on this item?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll conclude the water utility meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. We'll see everyone in 6 minutes.